Burst matter and farming. This is today's topic, and with that, welcome to this video. Today I want to talk to you about the first, or most likely the first matter of the game. And before we start about and talk about it, some things. As I said, it's only most likely to be the first matter. I can't say for 100% that this burst/farming meta will be the first meta of the game, but it's most likely to be the first meta. Why? First off, most other MMOs, once they are going to release, having a similar meta like a damage meta first, because everybody does not know about the game and people have to do research about it. But one thing you can always say, and this is damage is good. So that's one reason. The second reason is that we already know that level 40 is only temporary for us. Well, you could say that's basically for every game that's new. We have only a temporary level cap and it will be released eventually. But we already know, because of the Korean game, that we will get level 45, level 50, and also Airsoft is most likely not to have years between the patches. So for the first matter, or the first level 40 people, it's important for them to farm. And because of this, the more damage you have, the easier you can farm stuff. And there was one problem. As gear is not that easy to farm, or it's easy to farm, but it's actually hard to get gear with really good stats. We would have a problem if we're going for a full PvE build, if we want to do PvP too, and we have PvP in Cabal too. And so we still need a solution that's good for PvP. And well, this is slightly the burst meta, because stacking attack, crit, accuracy, attack speed, and HP, I will explain later why this 5 stats is helping you in PvP situations, and it's helping you in the PvE situations. And so, because of that, we want to first look at the pro and cons from the burst meta itself. First, the pros. First off, as I already said, playing a burst meta is giving you a really fast kill and clear speed in PvE situations. And this is resulting in more dungeons per hour, what's resulting in more ults and better equipment, because you farm more mobs, and because of that you get more equipment. And also, once we have the level 50 available, with the gear you have, and it's a good PvE gear, you can just grind fast to the next level cap. One more thing is that popping other glass cannons in PvP is really easy, because your damage is already really high, and because of that you can enemy glass cannons. The next thing is that you still have basic defense on the primary stats of your equipment. Even if you go full glass cannon on your secondary stats, you always get those primary defense stats that are on the armor pieces. For cons, we have you are fragile in PvP. You are really fragile. You are not that hard. Well, we have HP, and this is good, but still, if someone is going full tank in PvP, he's most likely to survive more than you. And the second con of the burst meta is that you're really vulnerable to CC. Why? If people are chaining CC against you, you don't have the actual option to run away or dodge their attacks. So you will just get the hits, you will get them, and if it's a nice CC chain, you might die in the chain itself. But, and this is important, everybody is fragile due to the meta. Because if we're looking at the overall players, everybody is going to have as much damage as possible to farm faster and to do more damage in PvP. And because of that, everybody has low defense stats. Well, for the offensive stats, that's easy to tell. Burst meta is like most damage or maximum damage in the shortest amount of time. So what do we need for that? We actually need attack. And why? Because it's for the raw damage. The more attack we have, the more damage we deal. In addition, it's increasing our attacker tier. And the next thing that's increasing the damage is critical accuracy. And critical accuracy is just giving you a 50% damage bonus whenever you crit. So if you have a 50% chance of critting, half of your hits will deal 50% more damage. Mathematically said, overall you have 25% damage increase. Accuracy. Yeah, well, accuracy is basically important because you want a 100% chance to hit in PvP and in PvE situations. First off, if you miss in PvE, you lose DPS, so your DPS is dropping. And if we're looking at the PvP fight where you deal one-on-one against another burst player, and you say you have like the same stats, you have same HP, you have same damage and same overall, but his accuracy is a little bit higher and yours a little bit lower, and both of you need 10 hits to kill the opponent. If you start the fight the same moment, but your 10th hit or your 5th hit is a miss, then you will be dead, because the other one will not miss, and because of this he will have his 10 attacks faster done or earlier done before yourself, and this results in death. So accuracy is a must-have too. Next is attack speed. And why attack speed? Well, it's basically more attacks in the same time. So if you increase your attack speed and you have a certain amount of attack speed, you will deal more attacks, more damage in the same amount of time. And for advanced stats, we would have crit damage increase and PvP damage increase. Both are not really interesting at level 40, but maybe interesting later on. But also, those are not no stats that are secondary stat slots. So both crit damage and PvP damage are in specific slots for themselves, and because of that you do not need to change accuracy against crit damage or against PvP damage. And the other thing is that there are only 4 attack stats in Cabal too. We only have attack, crit, accuracy and attack speed. And there's no 5th option we could use, or there's a 6th option and we have to choose between them. So having a burst meta is just going all 4 damage skills. That's possible. Why do we want the most damage possible? Well, first off, the DPS, and then we are looking at a 10-second burst. And DPS is nothing else but your damage multiplied by crit, hit chance, and your attacks per second. Well, that's basic. Everybody should know what DPS is. Damage per second, for the one who didn't know. So let's say, on average, you deal 1000 damage, you have a 30% crit chance, 50% crit damage, the basic crit damage. Your hit chance is 90% against the target, and your attacks per second are 0.5. So you do like 1 attack in 2 seconds. Yeah. That's APS of 0.5. If we put everything into our formula, we would have 517 DPS. That's what our DPS is. If we bring the DPS into a 10-second burst situation where we go full damage in 10 seconds, we would have around 5200 damage in 10 seconds. That's nice. But if we can increase our damage stats, like we adding 20% of crit chance, we removing the 10% miss we had on the hit chance, and also we'll do 0.6 attacks per second, we would just end up at 750 damage, or DPS. And 750 DPS in 10 seconds is most likely 7500 DPS. So that's 31% more damage. And what you also should note here is that increasing the attacks per second by 0.1 is a 10% damage increase. So you want attack speed, you want your hit chance, and you want your crit chance, as well as the damage, to have the highest burst or the highest DPS. Why did I say HP? Why am I saying HP is better than defense? It's not like I think that HP is better than defense, but in this specific situation and on this specific matter, HP is better than defense. And let me explain why. First off, in PvE, we only have physical damage. So there's no magical damage in a PvE situation. So if you would stack PvE defense, or better said physical defense would help us to survive longer against Force Shielders, Warriors, and half of the damage from Force Bladers. But that's it. Priests, Wizards, and Force Archers, and 50% of the Force Blader damage is still going through us. And if we're stacking HP instead of physical defense, our survivability against physical damage and magical damage will increase, because HP is against every type of damage instead of physical defense slash magical defense. If we look at it from a PvE perspective, running easy mode, well, it's easy mode. I don't need to talk about that. Everybody should be able, or everybody is able, I'm claiming everybody is able to do the easy mode without any problems, and it does not care what gear he has. On the normal mode, well, normally your tank should get the damage, so having HP is already more than you need in a PvE group situations, because if it's a normal dungeon, your Force Shielder or your Warrior should hold the aggro. So that should be perfectly fine if you go in with HP. The challenge mode is not yet in-game, and because of that, and because we are at the level 40 and we have the burst matter, we don't need to look at challenge mode. Challenge mode might be different because of AoE spikes or something like that, but that's not for this. We don't have level 45 to the beginning, we don't have challenge modes, so we can fully concentrate it on a pack of gear or a set of gear that's all for farming and damage. Also, if you say, the Force Shooter still need a little bit of defense to do the dungeons. Nope. The base defense from the gear, the primary gear for a Force Shooter is enough to tank every normal mode in the game. No problem at all. I did it, no problem. And because of this, HP bigger than defense in a burst meta situation, like we have in this situation here. Just let's do some working with numbers too, because I want to show you something about the farming or the farming efficiency. And if we say we need 20 minutes to do one Sky Garden on easy mode, that would be 3 runs per hour, or equal 3 items, because you drop at least 1 item each run, so we say 3 items a run. And this would be 24 items in 8 hours. So if you farm 8 hours, you have 24 items. If we just increase our DPS by 20%, we could save 4 minutes for a run in Sky Garden, and because of this 4 minutes we are saving, we already get 3.75 runs slash items per hour. And on an 8-hour situation we have 30 instead of 24 items. So we have 6 items more for just a 20% damage increase. This is more alts. This is more upgrade material, and this is more sense, because you get overall more stuff because you're doing more runs in the same time. Let's assume, just let's assume, the level 50 patch is coming in 3 months. So all you have to do for the 3 months is like doing PvE and farming stuff, or doing PvP. So if we look at the PvE farming situation and we say you're farming for 4 hours a day, yeah? And we keep the 20 minutes run at all, in this 3 months you would get like 1080 items, or you would do this much runs on easy mode and you would get this much items. If you just increase the DPS by 20% and you're just going for a 60-minute run, in this 3 months you would have around 300 more runs done, and you would have 300 more items than the basic DPS situation. And already this is a huge amount of more stuff. It's like 30% more loot in the same time. And if you just say you can have double the damage, so you have like 50% more DPS, and you only need half of the time than the basic starting gear. At level 20, at level 40 you only need around 20 minutes for a Sky Garden run, once you know how to do it. And doing it in 10 minutes would result in close to 2,200 items. This is double as much as in the normal situation. And if you just look at what you have, if you go for a full farming burst meta set, or you just stick with random items, or you're going for a defense equipment, it's a huge, huge difference. And this difference will be on your alt conto and also on the possible gear you have, because the more drops you have, the more chance you have to get a nice 5-stat gear that you actually want to wear. Well, and for PvP, if we want to talk about PvP, there is one thing that has to be said about Cabal 2. Cabal 2 is team PvP. It is all about team PvP. Yes, there is duels, there is solo PvP, but the battlegrounds, 6v6, 8v8, 18 versus 18, it's all about team PvP. And in team PvP, it's not important what your actual own stats are, it's important what your group can do. And if we look at two burst meta teams fighting each other in a 6v6 situation, the one who going with the better stun lock, who is going with a better CC rotation on a target, will kill one DPS or maybe kill the healer and then clean up the rest. And for this, the burst meta, the burst PvP, is also a really, really good tactic, because you will have it easy to deal with enemies, and also fights will be over faster, and you might be able to do the whole battleground much faster. And because of that, you will get more honor points, because you can do more PvP situations, or you can do more duels, more battlegrounds in the same amount of time, like with the drop. And well, that's my explanation for the burst/farming meta. And as always, thank you for watching. See you again. Bye bye.